the specially appointed associate, Professor Miyamoto, please. I'm Miyamoto from Osaka University. Toward a broader quantum advantage in finance is my presentation title here. Well, first of all, let me make a self-introduction just briefly. Investment bank and consulting firms where I've worked for. In there, for financial industry, I work for the development. And last year, I'm working for the application for the quantum computing for finance. And I introduced a QIQB organization that I belong to. From hardware to software for quantum information technology research is ongoing. And also, we run the quantum software research base. So that is also where that we are working for the research on the quantum technology. And also the quantum software study group is taking place. And we are always looking for the participants. So if you are interested in, please contact with us. Expectation onto quantum computing and finance. Why finance is a leading application of quantum computing? Financial institutions daily perform hard calculations and speed up them could have a significant impact. Quantum algorithm cannot accelerate the calculation all the time. But in the financial industry, the calculation is very tough, and for most of the times it is considered that the quantum algorithm can be applied. Here are a couple of examples. In this presentation, especially I would like to focus on derivative pricing out of many considerations. And here I consider that Monte Carlo integral or differential equation solving can be applied here. And just like Uno-san mentioned, first of all, what is a derivative? A financial contract to transfer an amount determined by reference to an underlying asset that is widely circulated. Simple example here is a European call option. This is a right to buy the underlying asset. For example, right to buy shares S of the company X at price K in maturity T. Then you can calculate in this way, and that cash flow can be gained at the time of the maturity. This is a very simple example. Many security companies and banks, depending on the customers' needs, complex products are established. In that case, appropriate price is necessary to be calculated by financial institutions. The final fair value here means the expected cash flow generated based upon the financial engineering perspective. So that is expected to be calculated. And the often used method is the Monte Carlo integration, price evaluation by Monte Carlo integration. So here the path is generated through the modeling, and the mean of each path is considered as the price expected. That means the value or price of derivatives. If the bank is bigger, then diverse and large numbers of derivatives are hold. Therefore, price valuation is a major burden. Now, the quantum algorithm for Monte Carlo integration is also well known. That is called as QMCI. Compared to the classical Monte Carlo method, second-order acceleration is achieved. Certain accuracy or epsilon is requested. In order to achieve that, you calculate. Well, in the case of classical Monte Carlo, that is the epsilon, or that is the epsilon to the order of second. And in the case of quantum, it can be reduced to 1 over epsilon. Then here, is it possible to apply this to the derivative pricing calculation? And already such kind of research has got started. In 2018, 4 years ago, the Lano came up with this example with this paper. This is a simple Black-Scholes model base and a simple product or European option is evaluated in terms of the price, and second order acceleration against the classical computing is demonstrated. So the application of quantum algorithm for financial field has been already started to be considered in this couple of years. So it's just a couple of years, so research has just started. And as has been introduced, the problem set up in our earlier research was quite simple. Of course, we would like to start with a simple one in the very beginning. So this is a natural course. But if you use a simple problem, the acceleration of that is not really meaningful in the practice. So this European option evaluation with a Black-Scholes model, well, that formula is already known. Therefore, with the current computing, without difficulty, calculation is possible. So what should we do? Expand the area of the application of the quantum computing. We want to work for those where the significance of the speed up is big. So we need to extend the study to problem settings where speeding up is significant in practice. There are several points we need to focus on in this chart. So market modeling, so those models, and also the characteristics of the products of financial instruments, and XVA. Well, recently, with the different factors, derivative pricing will be adjusted. So that is XVA here. In the initial research, the model is Black-Scholes because that's simple and that is widely used in practice. But the freedom is not that much, so it is not necessarily matching to actual market conditions. So there are further advanced model utilized. It's complicated, but it is more flexible, so the market situation can be more precisely reflected. That's also something we'd like to pursue for. For the product perspective, I introduced the European model a little while ago. That is a cash flow generated on a predetermined schedule. There are many such kind of products available, so this is also usable. But in reality, more complicated products are actually where we want to accelerate the computation. For example, those with the early termination clause. One party has the right to terminate, automatic termination under certain conditions, or before the maturity. So there are such a complicated clause added on many of the products. NXVA recently in this financial practice, it is indispensable to take that into consideration, although it's not considered in earlier research. So here, let me introduce you some of such approaches. For example, the price evaluation of commodities with automatic early termination clause. Well, Goldman Sachs and other groups have conducted that. For example, auto-callable, that is, ends when underlying asset reaches a predetermined level, or turn, that ends when the accumulated interest reaches a predetermined level. So such automatic clause products are considered, and research result shows the quantum circuit implementation, then estimates the number of qubits and gate needed. And CVA, credit valuation adjustment, is considered to be quite important in XVA. This is the adjustment of price considering the risk of the defaulting of trading partner during the contract. This is a risk of the amount that you are supposed to receive but cannot receive actually. This is also indispensable to take into consideration. But if this calculation is possible to be done within this quantum computing, well, we see some of the papers available for that. Regarding models, this is done by Mizuho, and I got involved in for that as well. That's the local volatility model. This is an advanced model compared to Black-Scholes, and this shows two ways of implementation of quantum circuit to make paths, estimating resource requirements, such as the qubits, number of qubits, compromise of number of qubits, and such. And the Bermuda Option, that is one party has the right to end the contract before maturity. And classical computing, there are several algorithms known. And rather, a quantum algorithm, if that is possible to be used or not, is under study currently. And also, there are other derivative pricing approaches available. For example, Black-Scholes partial differential equation solving. So out of the papers that we got involved, these two, that is a Bermuda Option evaluation algorithm and a Black-Scholes partial differential equation solving algorithm, these two will be introduced to you here into more details. First, Bermuda Option pricing. Let me explain about this into detail. Bermuda Option goes in this way. One party has the right to terminate the contract at some point before maturity, like after 1 year or after 2 years. So unlike European, this is not at the same level as European option, but Bermuda option is also often used. Bermuda option pricing equals to expected cash flow, but this is expected cash flows only under the optimal exercise strategy. Then what is the optimal exercise strategy? That is, on the exercisable date, exercise if value of continuing is less than the values of exercising, and do not exercise if the opposite is true. So this is the simplest strategy. Then values of exercising, well, that means the cash flows obtained by exercising. On the other hand, values of continuation, you do not exercise the right, and at the time option price is set. That is called as the value of continuation. So now we know the values of continuation. Then the optimal pricing can be identified, so Bermuda option can be executed. But that's not easy. The difficulties when evaluating price by Monte Carlo integration, the expectation of values of continuing is quite difficult. So how it can be calculated? So when you have a path of Monte Carlo, for each path and each exercise state, again, from the perspective, you have the divergence of path and calculate Monte Carlo. You think that might be possible, but that ends up with a nested Monte Carlo. There are many branched paths generated. That's impossible in terms of computation time. Therefore, you have to have an approximation in some way. And for this, there are several ways proposed. Then, let me take up one algorithm here for quantum computing. What we did is, as a consideration approach, is that in the space of underlying asset price, you calculate values of continuing in Monte Carlo only for interpolated nodes and interpolate with a Chebyshev polynomial. You can find the image here on the screen. As a function of this underlying asset price, we would like to get the value of continuation, but we cannot do that. So with the certain selected node, the value is calculated with the Monte Carlo. And you connect with using the Chebyshev polynomial. And here you can get the continuation value of the underlying asset price. As a classical algorithm, this is known, but we identified it. And this algorithm can be immediately utilized for quantum computing. The point here is a node calculation of a continuum value. And that is cut out here as a Monte Carlo. So QMCI can be applied naturally. And it showed the second-order acceleration by QMCI. And this can be adaptable to Bermuda Option. Another one is Black-Scholes PD solution. Approaches other than Monte Carlo. There is a Black-Scholes PD. And this PDE is utilized, and that is known, and that is solved with a boundary condition approach. So at the time of maturity, derivative price is as it is, so solution is available. And that maturity time-wise, backward way, solve this PDE. And when this approach is taken, well, for underlying asset, you have to apply the boundary condition. But the already the boundary condition is available, then this is going to be quite useful. For example, barrier option. Contract expires when underlying asset reach a certain level or barrier. That is a barrier option. In that case, in this barrier, value will be 0. So there is a very clear boundary condition. In this case, PDE approach is quite useful. For solving PDE, a typical method is FTM or finite difference method. In the space, there is a grid point, and as you see, the grid is set up in S space and approximate the derivative by the difference with this formula. That's FTM. In this case, you can convert PDE to a series of ordinary differential equations or ODE about time and solve this. But there's a difficulty. The complexity increases potentially depending on the number of assets. With the multidimensional grid points increased, therefore it's difficult to be applied to the multiple assets. The quantum algorithm for solving is also proposed. And if you use that, you can realize exponential speed up compared to classical FDM. But the difficulty here is that the output of a quantum algorithm is not the value, but it is the quantum state. But we want to have the value. We need a derivative pricing for current underlying asset pricing. And thus, we want to get that only for a certain amplitude. And it's very difficult to get it from the quantum state because it is time consuming. Therefore, we thought about the expected derivative pricing in the future. So to a certain time point of the future, PDE is solved. And separated from that, you prepare this underlying asset is already incorporated as the factor. With that, you can come up with the you can solve the dot product, and this is the approximation. And with that, the appropriate future time can be gained. So it seems time's up. But the message here is that we would like to cooperate with you, with even academia people. We want to cooperate so that we can realize the solution for this. So let's work together. That's all from me.